back, everybody, to the podcast, the video podcast. Today I'm joined with Coach Roy Thompson. Coach Thompson is coming to, is at Tech, but I thought I'd ask him to join us. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm great, doing good.
Tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm from a really small town, Bassfield, Mississippi. So no red light, just a 4-way stop and a Ward's restaurant, which is really good, by the way. Ward's, nice spot. They're all in the South, little country places. But it's a super small town. Grew up there. Went to Belhaven University in Jackson and played my college football and really jumped right into coaching after that. So small town kid, man. This is the biggest place I've ever lived in. Jackson was the biggest, but this is one of them. So
you know, until I went, because I went to Stillwater, Oklahoma for college. Until I went there, the Pryor, Oklahoma was the biggest city I'd lived in.
Wow.
And it's probably the size of Dardanelle, which is just across the river. But so I know how I know how it feels. So tell me about your coaching, your coaching path. So to speak.
Absolutely. So I started off, played 4 years at Belhaven, and then my first coaching job was at Highland Community College in Kansas. You know, I thought I was a big-time football coach. They gave me $3,000, housing and meals. That was the beginning. But was at Highland for a season, and then went back to Belhaven to be a graduate assistant for 2 years. And so that was a really cool experience being back there with some guys I played for and really developed some really good relationships. And then from there, I went to Ouachita for the first stint. I was at Ouachita for 4 years, defensive line coach, linebackers coach. And then I moved to California. With a friend of mine from there, and I spent some time in Northern California at Mendocino Community College. So it was pretty cool living in California from a dude from the South, and had a great time there. Beautiful weather, so that was pretty cool. Then back to Ouachita from 16 to 25, and then landed here at Tech. So I've had some repeat stops in that journey, but it was pretty cool, just the different places that football's taken me so far.
One of my mentors from a while back had said something along the lines of, if the place wants you back, it's a good sign you did the right things and you know, was the right person. If they're trying to like lure you back or having you back, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure any of my places would ask me to come back. But that's super cool. And so now you're at Tech. You're about to enter year one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've met a couple of times with some of your folks related to GA stuff, and that's kind of where I was really wanted at, like the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about is, I know GAs are kind of filtered throughout your program as far as students, student athletes, and then as coaches. Can you tell me a little bit about the role GAs serve and how you kind of cultivate that?
Yeah, so I'll start with the coaches, and really a college football program, any college football program doesn't run without GAs. Those guys do the majority of the hard labor work, right? It's kind of like you graduate through it. So I've been a graduate assistant, and you break down the film, you do the laundry, you check the roll. You know, if you're at the cool thing about the small college level is you actually get to coach, so you can run your own position meeting room. But you know, when you're a graduate assistant, you really do like you behind the scenes, the hard day-to-day stuff. You know, you do a lot of that stuff with guidance from, you know, the head coach and the position coach. So even as I took over, like in a different situation from a head coach, from a coordinator to a head coach, like my first couple of months on the job, right, it was me and a couple graduate assistants, and those guys were a huge help. They know where everything is. They know the right people on campus. Because they interact with so many different people, because they get assigned a lot of those jobs. So those guys are invaluable to the program. They do so much, and we had a really good group of when I got here. And so, yeah, and everywhere I've been, I would say that, you know, on the other side of it, like when I was as a defensive coordinator, my graduate assistant was really my right-hand man, right? So they probably spend more time with you as an individual than anybody else in the program. They probably get more access to, whether it's the coordinator or the head coach, than anybody else, because they have to, they're kind of like secretaries in some ways, you know. So, I mean, they've got a lot of access, and they probably know the most about what's going on in the program because of all the access they get. And then the players, you know, it's really cool. Like when you're out and you're recruiting players and you're talking to parents, you tell them that, hey, this is a 40-year decision, right? So anytime those guys can come in and not only get their undergraduate degree, right, and set themselves up, but if they get the opportunity to redshirt to be able to add on a master's degree, which we've got several kids in our program that are going to graduate with master's degrees, and that's awesome for those kids and setting them up for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like whether it's redshirt or medical or something else, they get that extra year to add on, and they get that much. What is a graduate certificate or getting close to finishing out a master's or whatnot? What do you when students are, whether it's a recruit that's young, or maybe it's like you said, you came into the situation, you already have some GAs. How do you approach, because you're supporting them as an athlete, as a person, as a student, what's your philosophy, or how do you approach the idea that, because based on a previous conversation with you, you're developing the person.
Right.
Football's important, but when they leave here, you want them to be, have that growth or whatever we talked about previously. Could you talk a little bit about your philosophy or your process there?
Yeah, so it is like the more, I would say this, the more those graduate assistants, let's start with the coaches, right? When I hire a graduate assistant, like I'm pretty thorough, right? Because I'm hiring someone that I want to hopefully hire in the future. So I'm looking for attributes that I can help. I don't mind developing them as a coach, right? But I'm looking for someone with the attitude, the work ethic, the details that would allow us to be able to hopefully want to hire those guys in the future, right? So some people hire the graduate assistant and they really hire them, we call them bag movers. They're just moving bags, right? And that's all those guys are going to have to do with them. If you come to Tech and become like a football graduate assistant, right, I'm hoping to develop you to go work for somebody else, right? And that you're the best coach you can be. And so that's a big part of it, and hire guys that we would hopefully want back in our program to lead our young men and do that. So we talk about when we recruit those kids, we want to be able to become a better husband, better father, and a better man, right? And so, when those guys come into my program, either as a graduate assistant or as a student athlete, like my job as a head coach is not just to develop those kids as football players, right? It's to make sure that when they leave me that I've either expounded on the attributes that their parents have already given them, and that I'm setting those guys up to be successful in life. And so, when they come in as high school guys, right, you get to see and be with them for the growth of their life, and not only coach them in football, but like there's a couple of kids that I just finished coaching at my previous institution, and I'm calling those guys right now and say, all right, do you have a job? Or we're doing mock interviews. Or, if one of those kids call me today and say, Coach, I got an interview, well, we're going to spend 3 days mock interviewing, right? Trying to guide those guys throughout all the phases of their life and making sure they're successful. I talked to another kid. This kid played for me in 2009. Right? And I called him the other day to check on him and his wife, because he's one of my guys. Like, those kids are always, they're my babies. That's what I tell my wife. Like, the dude's grown, right? And he's got 2 of his own kids, but he's my baby. It was time to call and check on him, And so those are the type of relationships that you hopefully guide those kids through when they come and play for you, from undergrad to grad and then to married with kids. You want to be there for them.
And you spend a lot of time with them. I know that they go to class and they interact with the professors, but they're with you and your staff a lot.
Yeah.
And so you get to really have a hands-on, and that the better husband, better father, better man is something you'd mentioned previously, and I really love that. I think about kind of like some of my students is they'll call me and like, hey, Dr. Bradley, guess what? I got a new job, or I'm having a kid. Well, now that they say they have a kid, it makes me feel a little old. Right? I'm like, oh my God. I remember when you were a freshman and had no clue. So you're about to enter the season. What are you looking forward to? You've had. How long have you been here? Let's say a few months. I guess.
A few months. Right? Yeah. You know what? We the first thing I say is like when we took the program over, man, they had an awesome group of kids that were already here, and those kids have really helped to lay the foundation of hopefully what the program will be like going into the fall. We added a crazy number of kids, almost 60 kids to the roster from there. So we'll have a really big roster, some really talented kids. And so it's kind of like Christmas, right? You got all of these new presents and you don't know which one to open first. And so I'm excited really to get in the fall camp and get to work with these guys, because like we know they've got the ability, right? I feel like we're really good recruiters, we're really good talent evaluators, and so really I'm excited for August the 10th to get these guys on campus and start teaching and coaching and developing those relationships and implementing the program with 140 kids, 150 kids, right? So that we can go into game one and really do a good job.
I think to round it out, to kind of close it out, one thing I was going to ask is, if you were to think back, or if you've got a young student athlete that's getting ready to transition to college,
Mm-hmm.
and they're thinking about playing football or another sport, and they're thinking about their college career, and they're thinking about all these things that are kind of in front of them at this pivotal moment in their life, what would Coach Thompson say to that young man or young woman about their decision about how to kind of approach that? Like, what's your advice to students as they think about entering into college with that we'll just say football in your instance, but any athletic endeavor, any sport, what kind of things would you say to them or share with them about making some decisions or where they should go or how they should approach it?
Man, that's a great question.
I know. As I was forming, I was like, I don't know if I could answer this.
Yeah, but because it when you get opportunity to work with these kids, we were just talking like some of them don't really know. I would say take it slow. Take it slow. You don't have to have all the answers today, right? Go out and experience things, and then the last thing I would say is whatever you're doing, be the best at it that you can be. So our core philosophy as a program is go to work, right? And so we talk about if you're going to go in the classroom, if you're going to go in the weight room, if you're going to do a community service event, don't just do it. Be the best at it. I think a lot of times we fail to try to be the best at whatever we're doing because we probably get focused on just doing a lot and not doing it well. So take it slow, and whatever you're doing in that moment, right, be the best at it. So I was reading today, and that's what it was talking about. It's like whatever you do it to the best of your ability. And so if those guys do that, they'll be successful. But guys, football wise too, like they'll come in and they'll be a freshman and they won't be first. They'll be second or they'll be third. Right? And don't focus on where you're at. Just focus on each day being the best that you can be. So our goal, even though it is to win all of them, the first goal has got to be you got to win the first one. And before you win the first one, you got to be really good at practice whatever that day is. Right? So just small scale, whatever you're doing, just be the best at it that you can be. And if you keep stacking good days together, good things will happen. And so that was a great question, man. I might invite you into a couple of meetings.
I'll put out, what is that, football consultant on my title.
Yeah, you get a consultant tag. Yeah, sure.
Well, Coach, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. Folks, Coach Thompson, join us and watch some ATU football in the fall. Thank you again.
Hey,